The X-Post hit 2 million views in 90 minutes. A digital wildfire spreading across screens from coast to coast. On the grainy clip, Keanu Reeves, his eyes steady as a lighthouse in a storm, leaned forward in a Los Angeles studio chair and said, "You've forgotten what real feels like." The words landed like a thunderclap, silencing the smirking host, Ethan Harper, and freezing a live audience caught between shock and awe. The timestamp read, 9:47 p.m., May 18, 2025, but the moment felt timeless, a raw fracture in the polished veneer of late-night TV. Comments flooded in. Keanu just broke the internet. Ethan's done. This is why we love him. By midnight, the clip was a cultural earthquake, shaking the foundations of a nation hooked on viral drama. But to understand how it happened, we need to rewind just 24 hours to the night it all began. The studio on Sunset Boulevard buzzed at 8 p.m., the air thick with the scent of burnt espresso and the faint hum of traffic outside, where 72-degree evening pulsed with life. Neon signs flickered against the soundstage walls, casting a glow over a set designed to feel like a living room, but built for spectacle. The audience, 200 strong, crackled with anticipation, their phones already poised to capture the next big moment. Tonight's guest was no ordinary star. Keanu Reeves, 60, was stepping onto the stage of The Ethan Harper Show, a late-night juggernaut fighting to stay relevant in a world of streaming and X-Posts. The crowd expected his trademark charm, quiet smiles, thoughtful pauses, maybe a nod to his latest John Wick sequel. But Keanu was here for something else, Silent Threads, a documentary born from the ashes of his own pain. Keanu had spent 4 years crafting Silent Threads, a film about finding purpose after loss, inspired by tragedies that had carved deep grooves into his life. At 23, he'd slept on a hospital floor for 2 years, watching his sister battle leukemia until it claimed her. In 1999, his daughter, Ava, was stillborn, buried with her mother under a rainy sky in the Hollywood Hills. A year later, his best friend's car exploded after crashing at 90 miles per hour. A night Keanu was meant to be with him. These weren't just stories, they were the weight he carried, the silence he'd chosen over noise. The documentary, filmed partly in a Seattle grief clinic, 200 miles from L.A., was his way of giving voice to others who'd faced the same void. He'd poured his heart into it, funding it quietly through his nonprofit, hoping to spark conversations about healing. But Ethan Harper had other plans. Ethan, 45, was a late-night king with a million-watt smile and a knack for turning interviews into viral gold. His show, once a ratings titan, was slipping down 100,000 viewers in 6 months, a fact his producer, Tara, wouldn't let him forget. Backstage, as the crew adjusted lights and the audience settled, Tara leaned in, her voice sharp. "We need a clip that hits 5 million views. Ethan, make him crack." Ethan adjusted his tie, his jaw tight. He'd read the X-Posts calling Keanu St. Reeves, the memes painting him as a monk with a motorcycle. It grated him, this idea of a perfect star who floated above the mess of fame. Tonight, he'd drag Keanu down to earth, poke at his calm until something broke. A viral moment was his lifeline, and he'd get it, no matter the cost. Keanu stepped onto the stage, his boots scuffing softly against the polished floor. Dressed in dark jeans, a plain black shirt, and a leather jacket worn thin at the elbows, he moved with a quiet gravity, like a man who'd long stopped chasing applause. His hair, streaked with gray, fell loosely over his forehead, and a leather bracelet etched with Ava's initials peeked from his wrist. The audience roared, a wave of cheers bouncing off the walls like thunder. Keanu waved once, his smile faint, almost private, then sat in the guest chair, his posture relaxed but alert. His eyes scanned the room without hurry, taking in the neon signs, the 12-ounce coffee cups on Ethan's desk, the crowd's eager faces. He was ready to talk about Silent Threads, to share its message of hope. But the air felt charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. Backstage, Sarah Vega stood in the shadows, her hand clutching a locket Keanu had given her after his sister's funeral 37 years ago. Sarah, his publicist and friend since their 20s, wasn't smiling. Her sharp eyes tracked Ethan's movements, catching the glint of his cue cards under the lights. She'd seen the bolded keywords memes, grief, bracelet, and her stomach tightened. "They're setting him up," she muttered, texting an ex-contact to monitor the show live. Sarah knew Keanu's calm wasn't fragility. It was armor, forged in loss. But she also knew how far a desperate host could push. As the house band's drums kicked in, lifting the crowd to a fever pitch, she slipped her phone into her pocket, her fingers brushing the locket. Whatever happened tonight, she'd make sure the world saw it. Ethan strode to center stage, his grin as bright as the 500-watt spotlights overhead. "Folks, we've got a special one tonight," he boomed, arms wide. "He's a movie star, a philosopher. The guy who makes sadness look cool. Give it up for Keanu Reeves." The crowd erupted, some standing, others waving homemade signs. Keanu nodded modestly, his smile a flicker of warmth. Ethan sat, leaning forward with a playful glint. "Keanu, you're here for a documentary, right? No explosions, no dogs, just deep thoughts. Tell us about it." Keanu's voice was low, steady. Silent Threads is about purpose, after pain. How we find it in the quiet, not the noise. Ethan raised an eyebrow, chuckling. "Man, you're intense." "Ever just chill," the audience laughed. But Keanu's eyes held Ethan's, unblinking. "Chilling's easy," he said. "Listening's hard." The tone shifted, subtle but sharp. Ethan flipped a cue card, his smile tighter now. The audience didn't notice, still buzzing from the opening. But Sarah did, her hand tightening on the locket. Keanu sat straighter, sensing the trap. Outside, Sunset Boulevard hummed, oblivious to the storm brewing within. In 90 minutes, this moment would explode online, a clip that would redefine a night, a show, a man. But for now, it was just a spark Keanu, Ethan, and a room full of eyes, waiting for what came next. Keanu Reeves stepped onto the set of the Ethan Harper show, his worn boots scuffing softly against the polished stage. A stark contrast to the neon glow of signs proclaiming laugh and applause. At 60, he carried a quiet authenticity, his black leather jacket frayed at the cuffs, a leather bracelet etched with his late daughter's initials, catching the light. The Los Angeles studio, buzzing at 8:15 p.m. on May 18, 2025, hummed with anticipation, the air tinged with espresso, and the distant roar of Sunset Boulevard traffic. Keanu was here to discuss Silent Threads, a documentary born from his work with a Seattle grief support nonprofit. Wound 200 miles north. The film explored how people rebuild after loss, a mission rooted in his own scars, his sister's leukemia, his daughter's stillbirth, his friend's fiery crash. His calm presence felt like a lighthouse in the studio's frenetic sea. But a storm was brewing. Ethan Harper, 45, paced backstage, his tailored suit crisp but his eyes restless. Once a late-night king, his show was bleeding viewers down 100,000 in 6 months, a death knell in 2025's cutthroat media landscape. His producer, Tara, leaned in, her whisper sharp as a blade. "We need 1,000,000 likes tonight, Ethan, or we're done." Ethan's jaw tightened. He resented Keanu's St. Reeves aura, the ex-posts painting him as untouchable, a monk on a motorcycle. Ethan saw a chance to puncture that perfection, to mock Silent Threads, and Keanu's quiet demeanor for a viral clip that could save his show. His grin, practiced but brittle, hid a flicker of envy for a man who seemed to float above fame's chaos. Tonight, he'd drag Keanu into the mess, whatever it took. Sarah Vega stood in the wings, her hand gripping a locket Keanu had given her 37 years ago after his sister's funeral. As his longtime friend and publicist, Sarah knew the weight of his silences, the strength behind his calm. Her sharp eyes caught the bolded words on Ethan's cue cards, grief, nonprofit, bracelet, and her stomach churned. "They're ambushing him," she muttered, her fingers tense as she texted an ex-contact monitor the show live. This could go south. The locket, warm against her palm, grounded her resolve. Unlike the passive onlookers around her, Sarah was ready to act, ensuring the world saw Keanu's truth if Ethan crossed the line. The house band's drums kicked in, the crowd's cheers rising, but Sarah's gaze stayed fixed on Keanu, sensing the clash of values about to unfold. Ethan Harper leaned forward on the set of The Ethan Harper Show, his grin as sharp as the L.A. Studio's 500-watt spotlights at 8:20 p.m. on May 18, 2025. "Keanu, you're like a monk with better hair," he quipped, sparking a roar of laughter from the 200-strong audience. Keanu Reeves, seated across from him, offered a faint smirk, his leather bracelet etched with his late daughter's initials glinting under the neon glow. The crowd's cheers bounced off the Sunset Boulevard soundstage, but Ethan's charm was a mask. He flicked a switch, and the screen behind them lit up with X-posts mocking Keanu's nonprofit work for Silent Threads, his documentary on grief. One post sneered, "Keanu's grief doc is just sad boy PR," paired with a crying emoji. Another zoomed in on his bracelet, captioned, "St. Keanu's latest accessory." The audience howled, some clapping, others glancing at their phones. Keanu's smirk lingered, his voice low but steady. "Guess they missed my bad hair days," he said, earning scattered chuckles. A nod to the U.S. talk show, with that kept the mood light for 10 seconds, but his eyes hardened, locking onto Ethan. "Those posts hurt people who rely on our work. Ethan, grief isn't a meme." The crowd's laughter faltered, a few shifting in their seats, sensing the shift. Ethan, unfazed, leaned closer, his grin tighter. "Come on, Keanu, you love the hero vibe. Right, saving souls in Seattle, 200 miles away." The jab landed, and the audience laughed again, though some hesitated, their fingers swiping phones as X buzzed with live reactions. Posts flashed Ethan's, roasting Keanu countered by, "This feels mean." The studio air, thick with espresso and tension, crackled. Backstage, Sarah Vega, Keanu's publicist and friend, gripped her locket, her heart racing. She'd warned her ex-contact to watch the show live, and now she saw Ethan's cue cards bracelet, nonprofit as weapons in a 2025 cancel culture ambush. The audience, split between amusement and unease, mirrored America's obsession with instant feedback, their phones glowing with X-debates. A woman in the front row whispered, "Is this too far?" as another tweeted, "Keanu's getting real." Ethan pressed on, his voice playful but edged. "What's next? Keanu handing out halos at your grief clinics." The crowd's laughter grew uneven, some cheering, others checking X, where posts surged Ethan's savage verses, "Leave Keanu alone." Keanu sat straighter, his calm a coiled spring, ready to snap. The stage, once a stage for laughs, was now a battleground, with Ethan's jabs and X's live pulse amplifying a conflict poised to explode. At 8:30 p.m. PDT on May 18, 2025, the L.A. studio of The Ethan Harper Show pulsed with raw tension. Its neon-lit set a crucible for a defining clash. Ethan Harper, his grin a brittle mask, upped the ante, unveiling a true or false game on the towering screen. Headlines flashed in bold: Keanu funds grief clinics secretly. Keanu meditates 4 hours daily. Keanu eats alone at In-N-Out. The 200-strong audience roared with laughter, fueled by Ethan's taunt. Pick the real one. Monk Man Keanu Reeves. His leather bracelet catching the 500-watt spotlights. Sliced through the noise. Voice low but unyielding. "This isn't why I'm here." The words halted the crowd for 5 seconds. The air thick with espresso and a storm's edge. Keanu leaned forward, eyes pinning Ethan's. "We're buried in noise likes, retweets, games. I made silent threads because people need space to heal, not to be your punchline. When did we stop caring about real Ethan?" The audience gasped. Keanu's universal truth, cutting like a beacon through social media's shallowness. A modern Ted Lasso moment for a nation craving authenticity. Ethan's smirk wavered. "It's just a show." "Keanu," he muttered, voice thin. Keanu's gaze held firm. "I read your 2020 profile. Ethan, in Chicago. You hid your mom's addiction, terrified of seeming weak. Why turn my pain into your spotlight?" Ethan faltered, stammering. "It's just a show." His bravado unraveling under Keanu's calm, piercing insight into his insecurities. The crowd fractured instantly, half-clapped, hands rising in steady waves, stirred by Keanu's raw honesty. Others booed, voices sharp, yelling. "Let Ethan talk." Phones lit up as X exploded, posts clashing: Keanu's truth bomb versus Ethan's just doing his job. The split reaction echoed America's polarized media, injecting visceral tension into the moment. Backstage, Sarah Vega, Keanu's friend and publicist, edged closer to the stage, her locket clenched in her fist. She'd alerted her ex-contact to stream live, poised to intervene if security stirred. Her eyes blazed with pride and concern, the moment's weight palpable. The studio, 72-degree but electric, no longer belonged to Ethan. Keanu had turned his game into a mirror of his flaws. Ethan's hands shook, clutching his 12-ounce coffee cup. His smirk erased. The screen's headlines flickered, now irrelevant. Keanu sat resolute, his calm a fortress, exposing Ethan's insensitivity as a shadow of his own buried pain. X posts surged. Keanu speaks trending, capturing a divided nation's pulse. This wasn't just a personal clash. It was authenticity versus spectacle. A battle of worldviews poised to etch itself into cultural memory. At 8:40 p.m. PDT on May 18, 2025, the L.A. studio of The Ethan Harper Show hung in a reverent hush, its neon signs dimmed by Keanu Reeves' quiet power. Keanu stood, his frayed black jacket catching the 500-watt spotlights, and said, "Thank you for hearing what matters." His voice, steady and warm, stirred the 200-strong audience into a rising ovation. Their claps a tide of respect. Sarah Vega, backstage, locked eyes with a security guard advancing toward the stage, her glare stopping him cold. Keanu walked off, boots scuffing the polished floor, his leather bracelet glinting a dignified exit that transformed the Sunset Boulevard set into a testament to authenticity. Ethan Harper slumped in his chair, face ashen, hands knocking over his 12-ounce coffee cup, steaming liquid spilling across the desk, mirroring his lost control. By midnight, the clip of Keanu's stand surged to 10 million views on X, a cultural shockwave. His Seattle nonprofit, tied to silent threads and supporting grief clinics, 200 miles away, raised $3 million in 24 hours, a beacon of American optimism and action. Ethan, humbled, posted on X, "I messed up. Keanu's right, real matters." The raw apology fueled debates: Keanu's a legend versus Ethan's human. Relax. Capturing America's divided heart. X ignited with darker Keanu speaks. But hear what matters emerged. A viral movement like Me Too, urging real connection over digital noise. The clip became a cultural touchstone, reframing a nation's craving for truth. A week later, at a Seattle grief clinic, Keanu met a 15-year-old who'd watched the clip and joined a support group, her shy smile a spark of hope. "You showed me it's okay to hurt," she said. Keanu's nod, gentle but profound, carried his signature silence. Sarah, her locket catching the clinic's soft light, smiled. "You didn't just talk, Keanu. You changed things." The teen's story, shared on X, boosted the $3 million fund, expanding clinics nationwide. The Hear What Matters campaign trended for weeks, fueling TED Talks, fundraisers, and X threads, a legacy far beyond the original's fleeting world. Listening. Ethan's redemption, quiet, but sincere, resonated. His apology embodying U.S. values of second chances, softening the story's edge. The studio's 70 Saint-Degré air had settled, but the moment's fire endured. Keanu's exit, not a dramatic storm-off, but a purposeful stride, left Ethan staring at the spilled coffee. His show reshaped. X-posts swirled, some hailing Keanu's grace, others defending Ethan's humanity. Yet all felt the shift. The Hear What Matters movement grew, a clarion call for authenticity, inspiring a nation to listen. In Seattle, Keanu passed a clinic's new wing, his silence louder than ever, a catalyst for change that left readers uplifted, ready to hear what truly matters. Under the soft glow of L.A. streetlights on Sunset Boulevard, Keanu Reeves slipped his phone into the pocket of his frayed black jacket, its screen flashing 12 million views. The clip of his stand on the Ethan Harper Show, a raw, unyielding call for authenticity, had become a cultural beacon. Beside him, Sarah Vega, her locket catching the 70-degree night's gentle breeze, walked in step, her eyes tracing the neon skyline. "Maybe they're hearing it now," Keanu said, his voice a quiet ripple, a faint smile breaking through. It was 900 p.m. PDT, May 18, 2025, and the world beyond the studio pulsed with the moment Keanu had turned a late-night spectacle into a mirror for a nation craving real. The air, tinged with the scent of asphalt and distant ocean, felt alive with possibility, as if the city itself was listening. The night wasn't just a confrontation. It was a clarion call, a reminder that truth cuts through the noise of likes, retweets, and viral games. Keanu's words, forged in the fires of personal loss, his sister's leukemia, his daughter Ava's stillbirth, his friend's fatal crash at 90 miles per hour, had dismantled Ethan Harper's shallow jabs. His documentary, Silent Threads, tied to a Seattle nonprofit 100 miles north, was more than a film. It was a lifeline for those navigating grief's quiet depths. The clip's impact was seismic by midnight. It surged to 10 million views, and the nonprofit raised $3 million in 24 hours, funding grief clinics from Seattle to Atlanta. Ethan's X-post, "I messed up. Keanu's right real matters," marked a redemption that softened the clash, aligning with American values of second chances. X debates flared Keanu's a legend versus Ethan's human. Relax but the bar Hear What Matters hashtag unified them, sparking a movement like Dahmer's Me Too, urging authenticity over artifice. Keanu's exit, standing to say, "Thank you for hearing what matters," and walking off to a rising ovation, was no dramatic storm-off, but a purposeful stride, his leather bracelet glinting under 500-watt spotlights. Sarah's fierce glare had halted security, preserving his dignity, while Ethan, face pale, spilled his 12-ounce coffee cup, the steaming liquid pooling like his lost control. The studio's 72-degree air had settled, but the moment's fire burned on. A week later, at a Seattle grief clinic, Keanu knelt beside a 15-year-old who joined a support group after watching the clip. You showed me it's okay to feel broken, she said, her voice a spark of hope. Keanu's nod, gentle yet profound, carried his signature silence. Sarah, her locket gleaming, smiled. You didn't just talk, Keanu. You changed things. The teen's story, shared on X, amplified the $3 million fund, expanding clinics nationwide, a testament to American optimism and action. The lessons of that night ran deep, etched into the clip's 12 million views and beyond. First, authenticity is a quiet force, stronger than any spotlight. Keanu's refusal to play Ethan's game taught that staying true to one's values, even under pressure, can shift hearts and minds. Second, pain, when shared with purpose, builds bridges. Silent Threads and its nonprofit showed how personal loss can fuel collective healing, a cornerstone of American community spirit. Third, redemption is possible when humility meets truth. Ethan's apology, raw and sincere, reminded us that growth follows missteps, a value Americans cherish in stories from sports heroes to public figures. Finally, silence speaks when noise fails. Keanu's calm, not chaos, turned a talk show into a cultural touchstone, urging readers to listen to what matters in their own lives, to the quiet truths beneath life's clamor. The Hear What Matters campaign, trending for weeks, became a rallying cry, fueling TED Talks, podcasts, and fundraisers. It wasn't just a hashtag. It was a movement, like Black Lives Matter, pushing a nation to prioritize real connection over digital distraction. Ethan's redemption, though understated, resonated. His ex-post a stepping stone to quieter, more thoughtful hosting. The clip, now a mirror for a nation, prompted personal reflection. What noise drowns out our own truths? What matters enough to stand for? This reflective coda, stronger than the original's understated exit, aligned with American self-improvement ideals, urging readers to seek authenticity in their daily lives, whether in a 70-degree Wavel, Oa night, or a 40-degree Seattle dawn. To you, the audience, a heartfelt thank you for joining this journey. Your engagement reading, sharing, reflecting fuels stories like Keanu's, amplifying their power to inspire. You've helped make Hear What Matters a beacon, proving that community thrives when we listen. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button on our channel for more tales of truth and transformation. Your support keeps these narratives alive, connecting us in a world too often fractured by noise. Share your thoughts on X. What does hearing what matters mean to you? Let's keep the conversation going. Keanu and Sarah walked into the night, the streetlights casting long shadows. The clip, now at 12 million views, wasn't just a moment. It was a legacy, spreading from Sunset Boulevard to Seattle's clinics, from X threads to living rooms across America. Keanu's silence, his stand, his truth had reshaped a nation's pulse, urging us to cut through our own noise. As he disappeared into the 70-degree of darkness, the world didn't look away. It leaned in, listening, ready to hear what truly matters.